I'm Anne.
And I'm Monica, and this is the episode where we abuse our Disney Plus subscriptions.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
So, today, on this episode of Roasting Movies by the Fire, we are talking about Pixar's new movie called Onward.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was released not too long ago, but because of the whole Rona situation, it got released on Disney Plus earlier than expected. So, that's what we'll be talking about today.
Yes. Poor Pixar, actually. They lost a lot of money with this one.
Yeah, I feel bad for like the people who worked on it, like the animators, all that stuff, because
they probably put all their movies take up to, like, if people don't know, it could take up to, especially animation, up to like 4 to 5 years
at
to
least,
even make it. Yeah, so that's like 4 to 5 years of you working on the same project in and out at work, and then it's like the payoff isn't, especially when it comes to Pixar movies, they're expected to soar in the box
well, they have
office.
high budgets too, so
that too, so
it just kind of sucks.
I do feel bad for them in that sense, but let's get into the recap, which you'll be leading, right?
Yes. So as usual, we'll be doing a little recap of the movie, and for those who either need a refresher or maybe haven't seen it, and then we'll get into what we thought and grading and all that jazz. All right. So we start the movie with the narrator telling us about a world which is inhabited by all these mythical creatures like elves and stuff like that, and magic is really common, but magic is really hard to master. Only like super powerful wizards and stuff like that actually have it mastered. And so as time went on, the world became more modern and people started to use magic less and less because it was pretty hard to use, and they started using more like technology and stuff like that. So eventually magic kind of faded away, and then nobody really kind of believes in it anymore, I guess, or just like they kind of lost faith in it. So we meet who the narrator is. It's a boy named Ian. He's a teenage elf living in the town of what is it? New Mushroom Town?
New Mushroom Town. I have no idea, but
something
sounds
like that.
Right.
Yeah. So he lives in New Mushroom Town, and So we meet his family. So there's Ian, who is 16. It's actually his 16th birthday, and he's pretty like awkward and scared of everything, just like your super awkward teenager type guy. And he has an older brother named Barley, who's like super reckless. Kind of reminds me of Roderick from Diary of a Wimpy Kid a little bit. But I'll get more into that a bit later. But he drives like a van called Guinevere. He's super into magic and history, and he plays this game that's kind of similar to Dungeons and Dragons. Like he's super into like that kind of stuff.
Nerd.
And they also have a mom, and their dad died kind of soon, right before Ian was born. So Ian never met his dad, but he really wants to know about him. He wants to feel connected to him, and Barley always tells him that he has 3 memories of him, just like these little memories he had. And their mom's actually dating a cop whose name is Colt. He's like a centaur, half horse, half human. And he's kind of like, they don't really like him. He always says these lame jokes, and they're just not really into him. And Ian's super afraid of driving, and his mom like encourages him to practice driving, but he's pretty scared. He's kind of just scared of everything, as I said before. And he really wants to be connected to his dad. He wants to be like his dad. There's a scene where he's in a fast food restaurant, and this dude who knew his dad tells him that he was super bold and like a super great person, and he's like, I want to be like that. So that day at school, his mom is encouraging him to invite some friends over for a birthday party, but obviously he doesn't really have any friends. But he decided to try to ask these kids at school, but Barley shows up to pick him up from school and kind of embarrasses him, so he's like, okay, never mind, and then they go home. And at home, Ian's mom gets him a birthday gift, which basically is from their dad, and he said to give it to them when they're both over 16. And it's a wizard staff, and obviously Barley gets super excited because he's all into magic and stuff like that. And there's a letter that says that if they perform this spell, the visitation spell, the dad will be revived for 24 hours so he can meet his kids, pretty much. So Barley tries to do the spell, but it doesn't work, and they just think, okay, it's not really working. But Ian accidentally makes the spell work, and Barley gets excited because he's like, you have the magical gift. So Ian has the ability to do magic, I guess. But the spell is really hard to do, so the gem kind of like disintegrates, and only the lower half of the dad gets created. So it's literally just like his pants, basically. So they're like, oh, we need to find another gem so we can finish the spell, so we can meet, you know, the dad. And Ian like really wants to meet his dad, so they decide to go off on a quest to find it. Barley says we need to go find the manticore, which is this creature that apparently knows where all the gems and everything is. So that's where they go. They kind of run away from home, and the mom realizes that they left and is like, I need to go find them. So she goes off to find them. So they go to the manticore, who runs a restaurant, tavern kind of thing, like a family restaurant, Denny's, I don't know, whatever type of restaurant, where her tavern used to be. And they're trying to ask her for the map to the gem, but she won't give it to them. And they kind of unknowingly convince her that her life is like super boring and that she kind of like lost, I don't know, her greatness or whatever. So she gets, gets really mad and burns down the whole restaurant before they can get the map. So they barely escape. But it turns out that Barley took one of the kids' menus that has this little like game on it called Find the Gem. And the answer to the game is Raven's Point. So they decide that that's where they need to find the gem.
It's based on the map,
so then Raven's Point is at this mountain, and there's like a path that you can take on the freeway or the speedway or whatever it's called, but Barley is like, no, the path, usually on a quest, the clear path is not the right path. You have to take the whatever less obvious path. And Ian's like, no, we're taking the speedway. What are you saying? So they decide to take the speedway, and the mom, who's looking for the sons, arrives at the restaurant and sees that it's burning down. And the manticore's like, oh, I saw your kids. They were going off on a quest to find this gem, but it's not safe, because once they find the gem, there's a curse that's going to protect the gem, and it will try to kill them or whatever, do anything it can to make sure they don't have the gem. So it's like a death mission, basically. So the mom's like, well, we need to go find them. You're coming with me. And basically brings her with her in her car to go chase after the boys. And it's kind of like this road trip movie, you know, like people are going, they're trying to find this gem or whatever. So the manticore tells the mom that the only way to, you know, stop the curse is with her special sword called the Curse Crusher. But she's actually sold the sword a while ago, so they need to go get it back. And in the meantime, Ian is practicing his magic and accidentally shrinks Barley, and they need to go get some gas. So they have this like run-in with some sprites who aren't using their wings anymore, but instead are a biker gang. And they get into this big altercation, and Ian overcomes his fear of driving and helps them escape. But they get pulled over by the cops, and to get away from it, they have to impersonate Colt, who's the cop, centaur, whatever, their mom's boyfriend.
With magic.
And then after they get away, Ian and Barley kind of get into a fight because the magic that they used kind of revealed that Ian thinks that Barley is a screw up. So they kind of are mad at each other, but then they make up because the dad's pants, whatever, lower half starts dancing to some music, and they all kind of bond, have a good time. So Barley finally convinces Ian that they shouldn't take the easy way to Raven's Point, and that they should take the path of peril. And Ian's like, okay, yeah, we can do that. So in the meantime, also the mom and the manticore go to a pawn shop, and they steal the sword back from the pawn shop owner. So they're ready and armed to go and stop this curse. And also Colt is trying to find the boys as well, because he wants to make the mom happy. He doesn't want the mom to be worried about them, and he wants them to be safe and stuff like that. So the boys keep going on this path of peril, and they end up at a bottomless pit, and Ian has to use a spell to get across it. And he learns that, you know, while doing these spells, you have to really believe that you can do it for it to work. So he gets across the pit, and he lowers the drawbridge, but as they get over, Colt catches up to them, and he tells them, no, you need to come with me. But Ian does this really bold move where he gets in the car and drives them away from the police, and he's like, I can't believe I'm escaping the police. So and the popos. So they get across the bridge, and they find some raven statues that are pointing to different raven statues, kind of like leading you on a path. And then Ian's like, oh my god, I was taking us on the wrong way. You were right, we should have taken this way. So they end up finding this like stone type of thing that has this little diagram on it basically saying you need to follow the water to get to, the treasure. X marks the spot or whatever. Yeah, so they're running from the police. I feel like I said that out of order. But nope, never mind. No, I missed the important part. They found the stone after this. But anyways, sorry. As they're running away from Colt, he calls for police backup, and there's this big police chase. And then, they have to block the path so that they can keep going. But Ian can't do the spell properly, so Barley sacrifices Guinevere the van to cause an avalanche, and they have to continue on foot. But they successfully blocked the path, and now they don't have a van anymore, which is really sad because the van is like Barley's prized possession. So yeah, and then after they're walking away to find the gem, and they find this rock, the stone thing that has the little diagram on it, and that's where we're at right now. So yeah, they follow this river all the way to the end. And also, in the meantime, we go back to the mom and the manticore, and they have a run-in with the sprites, who are now actually flying. I guess they were inspired to start flying. And the mom and the manticore get into a car accident. So the mom is like, okay, manticore, you have to use your wings, because the manticore also stopped using her wings. They're like, you have to use your wings so we can get to them. So, yeah. And then while Barley and Ian are following the river, he actually tells Ian that he has 4 memories of his dad, not 3. But the 4th one is really sad, and he doesn't like to think about it. It's the fact that Barley didn't really get to say goodbye to his dad because, when it was time for him to say goodbye, he was hooked up to all these machines, and he kind of got scared because it didn't really look like him, and he didn't get to say goodbye, and he really regrets it. And he decided from that moment on not to be afraid of anything. So yeah, and they make it to the end of the tunnel, and they have to go through this whole series of like booby traps and stuff like that. They almost die a bunch of times, but eventually they make it to the end. Eventually they make it to the end, and they get out of the tunnel, but they're back at the high school. So basically they're back where they started, and they get into this huge fight. Ian's like, you're actually our screw up. It's actually in the mountain. We should have taken my way. I just want to spend some last moments with dad because the sun is about to set. So the spell is about to wear off. So him and the pants walk away and go to this lake, and they kind of sit down. But Barley's like, no, I'm going to find the gem. I promise. So he keeps looking for it. And, while sitting by the lake, Ian has this list of things that he wanted to do with his dad when he came back. So like, stuff like, oh, I want to tell him about my life. I want to play catch with him, like that kind of thing. But as he's going through the list and he's crossing things off because he can't do it anymore, he's realizing that he did all of those things with Barley growing up, and that Barley was kind of the person who was always there for him, because he never really met his dad. So Barley kind of took on that figure for him. Yeah. And he's having all these memories of Barley, and that he really does appreciate that he was always there for him. So Barley is looking for this gem, and he finds this fountain. And early in the movie, he was protesting against the taking down this fountain. The guy, like, whatever, they wanted to do construction over it. And he doesn't want it to be taken down because he's like a big history fan, and he's like, no, this fountain is symbolic or whatever. So he goes back to this fountain, and he's like, oh, the water, and he's looking around. Yeah. And then he gets to the top of the fountain, like he's escaping from the police who's trying to tell them, no, get down from the fountain. And he goes to the top of it, and he finds a little slot where the rock fits in. So he puts it in, and there's the gem. So the gem was in the fountain the whole time. And he's all excited, but then the curse is unleashed. And as Ian comes back to, make up with Barley, he sees that the curse is there. So they're trying to, run away, and then the curse makes this big like dinosaur dragon type thing out of all the debris that it's like breaking from the school. So like all these pieces of the school form to make this big like dragon thing, and they're trying to fight it off. And then the mom and the manticore finally come back, and they're like, okay, we'll fight it off, you guys do the spell and go see your dad. So the mom subdues the dragon thingy whatever long enough for him to actually do the spell, but it takes time for the gem to form the dad, and the mom can't hold the dragon for that long. So Ian's like, or first Barley's like, okay, you say hi to dad, I'll go hold him off. But then Ian says, no, you should like have the chance to say goodbye to him. I never really had a dad, you were always there for me, so you should go say bye to him. You deserve it. So Ian's fighting off the dragon, the curse, and he actually kills it or whatever. He sends the sword into the core or whatever, and it's like done for, but he's kind of surrounded by debris, so he can't get to the dad, but he kind of watches from a distance as Barley gets to say goodbye to the dad for only like a couple of seconds or whatever because the sun is setting, and you know, he sees them hug, and he's kind of satisfied. He's like, okay, they got to say goodbye, and he's okay with that. And you know, he sees Barley again, and Barley says, you know, Dad wants to say that he's really proud of us, and he wanted me to give you a hug. So they hug. All is well. So yeah, everything kind of is good after that. They start to warm up to Colt a little bit more. People start using magic a bit more. The Manticore reopens her tavern. Ian is, you know, doing well at school. He's telling everyone the story about what happened. And he has friends now.
Yeah, he has friends now.
And Barley gets a new van called Guinevere II, and Ian continues to do his magic. They fly away in their car, in the van. And that's the end.
Yeah.
Ooh, wow.
Okay, awesome recap.
Yeah, I tried.
So now we're going to go into things we liked and things we didn't, right?
Yes.
So.
Did you want to start? You can start.
Yeah, I can start. I guess I'll say the things I liked, right?
Yeah.
That's what we should start. Things I liked. I like the animation, obviously, always. Yeah, I really thought the dragon was dope, like the whole using the debris to make it.
That was cool.
I didn't expect that. I kind of just thought it would be like an actual dragon.
Or I thought they were gonna fight the smoke, like because this like red smoke started coming out.
Because there's already like mythical creatures here, so I just assumed it would kind of just turn into. So that was dope. I liked the story, like the idea behind the story, if that makes sense. Like exploring two siblings who lost like a parent, one not knowing them and one like kind of knowing them. I think that's interesting. And I think it was modern, like, you know, they had a stepdad, like a lot of things that are less traditional, I would say, in terms of like family movies. They usually don't really explore that side of it. It's usually like, oh, dad is dead and then like our mom is kind of just like alone forever kind of thing. Or vice versa, which I thought was an interesting way to show like how that can happen, like, you know, in different ways. I think that's like, I think when I get into things I didn't like, I think it'll touch more on things I did like, because I'll be like, but I think that's the two big things that I can think of right now. That makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, I guess I'll say things I like. Yeah, I like the visuals. You know, they were fine. I liked the, like you said, kind of aspect of like, you know, wanting to meet the dad and like that kind of emotional, I guess, aspect of it.
Yes, yeah.
I also liked, you know, how it ended. Like I like how Ian, you know, realized that his brother was really there for him, and because he could have easily just been like, okay, bye, I'll say hi to dad, you know, I never got to meet him, but I like how he kind of like sacrificed that for his brother. That was really heartwarming. And I guess there was some funny, it was pretty funny at some parts, but there's some parts, I think that's pretty much it.
Okay, so things I didn't like. So, I watched this movie with my family, so we actually had like a full discussion. I didn't think this would make us have a discussion about it, but at the end, I don't know, I'm just like a big sucker for happy endings, right? You know this, right? I just felt like all I needed to be like okay with the movie, like to be like you know, breathe, was for him to at least see his dad. Like I wish like he would have like been away from his dad, like, because, you know, can't reach him because his ankle was like messed up too, right? So I kind of wish that he wasn't surrounded by rubble, but that he just wasn't like able to get to his dad, but that his dad was able to turn to him and like wave, you know? Because I feel like they were setting it up for that, because her mom, when the mom was talking to Ian on his birthday after he had the bad day or whatever, she's like, yeah, your dad fought really hard to like fight the sickness because I think he really wanted to see you, right? And I felt like
the dad would have been like, oh, hey, Barley, where's Ian? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like, or like, if he's like, okay, I got to see my son, like, I see what he looks like. Because I get the whole, like, Barley needs to say goodbye. I get that. And I understand, and I think the sacrifice is good because you need that, like, growth in the character.
Like, Pixar movies always need a lesson, so I guess that was a lesson.
But I feel like he wasn't rewarded whatsoever, you know? Like, Ian at all. Like, I feel like there was
he went through all that trouble for what?
Yeah, just to not, like, and, like, my brother was like, no, it makes sense because, like, Barley sacrificed his car and all, and I was like, yeah, I definitely think that Barley, not to say deserved, but, like, it made the most sense that, like, in the resolution, he would get the most time with the dad.
Yeah.
But I still felt like there could have been just, again, as the dad is disappearing, like literally from the foot down, because I just imagine that he would disappear from his feet and then it would go up to his face.
Yeah.
I would just like a look, like a smile or like a
yeah,
wave.
if he like looked back
like,
and like smiled, that would have been nice.
Yes, like to acknowledge him, you know, because I just felt like it made me really sad. Like I was like, oh, like you didn't get nothing. Second of all, I think a second thing I didn't necessarily like, which is something my mom brought up. She says the movie, when you begin the movie, it's kind of hard to get into. It's a little bit too like out there and too mythical.
I was gonna
like,
say it took me 2 tries to get through the movie. So like I started it at first, and then I stopped like maybe like 20 minutes in, and I was like, okay, I'm not in the mood to watch this right now. I'll watch it later, and then I continued it later. Like I couldn't watch it all in one sitting. And I had to I watched it while I'll get in more into this when I go into it, but I just want to say I had to do something else while watching it for me to actually get through it. But
so exactly, I think it wasn't I want to say it wasn't like actually captivating at first. Like it's like the shock factor of them being mythical creatures doesn't even work anymore, because everybody knows Pixar does like animals, all kinds of weird stuff, right? So to me, it wasn't even like, I don't know. I just felt like it was hard to get into. I don't know exactly. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what it was, but I was just kind of like, okay. Yeah. Like I wasn't really in the mood to watch it either. Like I didn't I wasn't like, oh, I can't wait to watch it, you know? But
yeah. And I feel like the dialogue was a big part of it, actually, at the beginning. It kind of it feels like the type of script that I would write a little bit. This is kind of rude, but the script that
I have a couple of rude things to say about it.
Yeah. The script I would write in like middle school / high school, where like the people are, it's like the first, when I took my creative writing class, right? That was the first thing they were saying was like, dialogue isn't saying everything that you're trying to say. Like they're like, if you're talking to someone, you're not going to be like, hey, Monica, who is 16, how are you? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you don't talk like that. Like you'd be like, hey girl, like what's up? You know, you don't really, like, nuances are kind of lost, you know? So I felt like a lot of the dialogue was like trying to introduce things that like they could have showed visually instead, or like it just felt not authentic. I think that's just it. Like the dialogue a little bit at the beginning felt inauthentic. It felt like they were really trying to establish like, oh, ever since your dad died. Like, you know, I hate that sentence, by the way. That's like my least favorite
sentence. Ever since your
sentence.
Dad died?
Ever since your dad, ever since mom died, ever since blah, blah, blah.
Ever since mom died, you've been like, blah, 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 like,
Yeah, I'm like, what? That's so not, like, unless it actually makes sense. Like, it's like, oh, like, since my mom died, like, we stopped celebrating Christmas, for example. Like, that makes sense to me, because I'm like, oh, that's specific. But if I'm like, ever since mom died, you've been acting gross. Like, what? No. I feel like that was, I think those are a couple of the big problems I had with it. I'm sure I could nitpick other things, but those are the two I can think of. I'm sure you're going to have other stuff that I'm going to agree with, but you can go on,
I mean, I don't want to be mean. However.
I know, I feel bad. Yeah.
However, because like I appreciate the effort that went into it, but I just felt like this was Pixar's least original story.
Oh, really?
Like, I just felt the story in itself was really not original. Like, I just feel like there's so many aspects to it that were so similar to other movies. For example,
okay, I see what you're saying.
For example, the dynamics between the brothers was super similar to other things I've seen, aka like stuff like Diary of a Wimpy Kid, you know, with the older reckless brother, the younger awkward, but I feel like I've seen that so many times.
Yes.
And like literally the first thing I thought when I saw Barley was like, oh, he's exactly like Roderick. Like, you know, he drives a van. Like, I just felt like, okay, I've seen that before.
I also, sorry, not to interject, but I feel like they didn't make him likable enough. Did you feel that?
Yeah, not really. Like, that's what I'm saying.
Like, he wasn't redeemable enough. Like, he started getting redeemed when he was sitting on that Cheeto, and I was like,
I was gonna get into the character developments too, but
yeah, exactly. Go on.
But yeah, no, I felt like a lot of aspects. Also, the whole like road trip comedy kind of adventure aspect is super played out. I've seen that a million times. You know, oh, this thing happens and now we have to go on this big road trip to do it or whatever. I feel like that's super played out. Also, I feel like the visuals too, as much as I like the visuals, it reminded me so much of movies kind of like Planet 51 or
oh my gosh, I love that movie.
Yeah, it's like Planet 51, or I had another one in my head a minute ago, but I can't think of it. But the visuals were super similar, like the vibe of it or like the colors.
You're actually right. Yeah.
I felt like we're really not special.
Because the elves kind of look like aliens in Planet 51.
Yeah, like the houses and like the whole modern. Yeah, that too. Like the whole modern. What's it called? It's called urban fantasy, but it's like, you know, when fantasy elements are set in like a modern setting or whatever.
Oh, that's dope.
That's super similar to like stuff like Planet 51 or what's that other one? The one that was it Rihanna who voiced her? That one girl. It was like the girl.
Oh, Home?
Yeah, it reminded me a little bit of that for some reason too. I didn't really watch it, but just the aesthetic of it, I guess, kind of reminded me of that. So I just felt like it wasn't really something super different because I feel like with Pixar's known for coming up with like super original ideas, like, you know what I mean? Every Pixar movie is like something you've never really seen before, and I felt like this was kind of just like a combination of all these different things that I've already seen. You know, road trip drama, brothers, parent dies, they have to go on this big quest, you know, it's fantasy but in a modern kind of setting. I feel like I've seen it a bunch of times before.
It is really similar to Home, actually, now that you said it.
Yeah, like Home and Planet 51, that kind of that kind of like aesthetic where it's like aliens and creatures and whatever. Yes. In modern setting. So yeah, I don't know, it wasn't really anything special to me in terms of like the premise.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like it was just a lot of like, it was similar to a lot of movies I'd seen before. And also kind of moving into that, the characters developments. First of all, look, I love Tom Holland as much as the next person. You know, he's just like, he's a precious being. However, I don't think he did that good of a job voicing Ian. I felt like his voice kind of had the same tone to it the whole way through, and it was getting kind of annoying. Like his whole tone the whole time was okay, like he had that kind of like, you know, it's like they were really trying to push that awkward teen. It's like, okay, I get it, like he's an awkward teenager, he's scared, like give me some little different, like show, like, you know, even when he was doing bold things, he still had that tone in his voice. I'm like, show me him like getting all brave, getting all, you know what I mean? Like,
I get what
this
you're
probably
saying.
Not Tom Holland's fault, and maybe that they were just directing him to talk like that.
Yeah.
But after a while, I'm like, okay, is he gonna have the same, like, it's kind of the equivalent of somebody in like a live action movie having the same expression on their face the whole time.
Yeah.
But in voice acting, you know what I mean?
No, I feel like there's so many nerdy guys that they've done in like animated movies that have done a better job. I agree.
Yeah,
like,
so I kind of after a while I was getting kind of tired of hearing his voice, and I'm like, okay, like give me something different, you know.
And I like him in Spider-Man. He does really well and with the voice, like being like.
That's what I'm saying. I know it's not Tom Holland's fault, but maybe they were just directing him to talk like that the whole way through. I don't know, but I was getting kind of annoyed.
I felt like he was holding back, which is weird. I felt he was holding back because of his accent, which I'm like, that's stupid, because he's done like full on movies where he's
maybe. But I feel like it's kind of similar with other characters too, a little bit, like you know, maybe the mom or things like that. I don't know, but I specifically noticed it for Tom Holland just because I started getting annoyed at his like, you know, little voice tone the whole time. Like, okay, I get it, he's an awkward teen, he doesn't have to talk like an awkward teen the entire time, you know. Also, I feel like I had another idea in my head, but I just forgot it.
What about, how do you feel, because I think this is the most controversial thing people have talked about. It has to do with character development.
I know what you're going to talk about.
The dad being pants, is that what you're talking about? Because
never mind.
Oh, not the gay part. Is that what you're talking about?
That's what I was thinking of.
No, but that's not about character development. That's just like shameless, whatever you want to call it. What is it? What is it? Gay fishing?
Tokenism?
Oh, tokenism? Yeah, they call that too. Sorry, gay fishing.
Maybe that, but yeah, also queer baiting.
Queer baiting. Sorry, yes, there you go. Bait fish. Look how I did that.
I'll get into a tangent about that.
Disney just loves to do that, but we'll talk about that in a sec. No, I'm talking about how do you feel? Do you think, because a lot of people felt like it did it a disservice. Even people who didn't even, like my brother, before even watching the movie, he saw the trailer and he was like, the dad is just pants. Like a lot of people were kind of turned off by that idea because they were like, you can't have any type of, it's hard to have any type of emotional connection to feet and pants, you know? Yeah. Like I swear there's other movies where people are just like a hand and it's still more intimate than that. I can't think of a movie, but there is like.
Well, there's one called I Lost My Body, which is like just a hand.
Oh, yeah. That is one, but I haven't watched that. But there's other ones where it's like the person is not fully realized, but like the part of the body that is realized, it's more connected and it's less,
And I feel like they didn't really follow through with the whole, because obviously it's just pants, so he can't hear them or see them, obviously, or anything. But I felt like they kind of like forgot about that at some points. Like at some points I felt like, okay, can these pants hear what they're saying? Like I'm really confused. How does the pants know how to run away from danger if he can't hear them saying, Dad, hurry up, or whatever? Like I feel like at some parts they kind of like forgot about that aspect.
They should have let him hear. I don't get why they couldn't. Like I feel like it's like, oh, you can only see this part, but I felt like the hearing, I don't know though.
They should have just like made it so that he can hear. I feel like that would have made it a lot better. But yeah, and like yeah, I don't know. In general, the story I felt like was just lacking for Pixar.
Yeah.
I would expect a story like this more in maybe like DreamWorks or something like that. Not to bash on DreamWorks, but I feel like it seemed more like a DreamWorks type of movie, or I don't know what studio did Planet 51, but that kind of thing. I was a little disappointed in Pixar for this one.
I feel like it's not even the story. It was just like everything else that happened. Like I feel like they pitched the story. It kind of feels like someone pitched the story to me and I'm like, okay, sounds cool, right? But then everything that's supposed to happen in between to like fill it up was kind of just like, oh, like I'm not very interested in this. I don't know. Yeah, no, I remember watching the trailer like in theaters a long time ago when it first got announced, and I remember being like, that doesn't really seem I was already like
to me. I wasn't excited for it or anything because like I said, Pixar is known for doing like these super original like ideas where you're like, oh, how did they even think of that kind of thing? But
I have to say, when Inside Out's first trailer, like the teaser came out, I was like, this looks dumb. And then when they started putting the jokes in the trailer, I was like, okay, maybe I'm
but even then, like, it kind of did look dumb, but then you have to think like, okay, the idea of it, that like, okay, their feelings are personified, or whatever. You know, like, even if the ideas might not seem good at first, you know, at least, okay, this is an idea I've never seen before, kind of thing. Or even just taking an idea that you've seen, like, oh, that little voice in your head or that thing, and then like branching on it is interesting. But I feel like Onward wasn't really taken from an idea like that. Like I said, I feel like they kind of just put together all these different things that have already been done before and kind of just did that. So I was kind of disappointed.
No, it's crazy because it's like Pixar is not known for. I think Disney's better with trailers than Pixar, for example. Like I think I usually look at Disney trailers and go, ooh, and then, but Pixar is always delivers though. That's the difference. It's like you may not think it's gonna be good, but they always surprise you, or they always like change it up, right? This one it was kind of
a little bit
even less than I expected, honestly, because I kind of gave it more credit because I'm like, well, it's Pixar. So
I was thinking the whole time like, okay, it's Pixar. There has to be that moment where I'm like, oh, okay, like I see. I get it. I kind of was just like, oh, okay. But
I don't know.
Oh, let's get into the queer baiting, because I was first of all, I actually forgot that this movie had the supposed first actual gay character. I remember when people were talking about it, but I forgot it was this movie until the character showed up, and I'm like, oh, that's the one. And I'm so mad. Can Disney stop? Like, if you're not gonna actually put a gay character in it, don't do it just for the fact that you can say, ooh, look at us, we're so progressive, whatever. Like, it was one line, and it was, oh, my girlfriend's kid is like driving me insane.
And she wasn't even a character.
And she wasn't even. She was in there like, for 2 seconds, and it was one line. Like, come on, like you just if you're not gonna do it properly, just don't do it. You know, because I know just Disney will never. And the day they do this, I will pay you $50 if I have to. But the Disney will never make a movie with a gay main character. They just won't. They won't, and I know they won't, because they, you know, it's all these old, you know, male white whatever executives out there. They're not going to allow that. They're probably the type of people that are like, they're probably the type of people that are like, oh, we don't want to force that onto children, blah 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 blah. So they won't do it. The most they're ever going to do is.
But to be fair to them, I will, because I'm a business kid, so I do know that a big percentage of the people watching their movie are children. Who has the most children? A lot of people who don't love progressive things, you know, so like New York City has probably not as many, you know, kids sitting at home rewatching a movie on DVD. However, just stop. Don't do it. I'd rather
them just not do it at all. Like, at least, but the fact that you're saying, oh, look how progressive we are, and you're not doing it properly, like, I would rather you just not do it at all, because then it just seems so superficial, and it seems like you're just doing it for the buzz or whatever. Because like I said, I know they won't do it. Weird. Maybe in 100 years when there's a whole new generation of executives working for Disney or whatever, maybe, but like, I don't think they'll ever actually do a main character LGBT main character, even a secondary character. I don't think they'll do it.
I know they keep dipping. See, this is what I would want for them, right? Because I'll give again. I'm a Disney, so I'm gonna give them tiny. They're still bad for this, but they did feature 2 moms on Good Luck Charlie. I think you.
I remember that,
right? On an episode of that, right? And that episode got so much backlash, like actually so much that they had to take it down.
Stupid
from
to begin with, but yeah,
the network. Yeah. Sucks, and that sucks. But to be like, to them, they're gonna be like, well, okay, clearly the world's not ready, because Good Luck Charlie is not even a kids it's more like
show.
A tween.
It's more like a 7 to 12 kind of age range kind of thing.
Exactly. And the fact that those people are supposed to be more like chill with it and they are not is not a good sign.
Yeah.
However, I would be like, okay, well then take that. Be like, hey, last time we did it and it didn't come out.
That's
well.
What I'm saying.
So
if they wanted to not, if they wanted to not do that at all, like I get it for Pixar because Pixar movies aren't usually super like romantic. Usually there's not really romance in them. So if they want to say no, we're not going to do it because blah 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 blah. Okay, that's totally fine. Yes. Like, I would be more mad if they were like Disney, where they're continuously pushing like heterosexual whatever relationships all the time kind of thing. That's a little bit different because it's like, okay, you're fine with whatever. But Pixar is, if you wanted to say, you know what, romance isn't really our thing, we're not really trying to do that, whatever. But the fact that they're trying to be like, oh, look at us, we're so progressive, we did a gay character, and then it's that, and I'm like, okay, like just don't do it at all then.
Yeah, and
it's kind of like an insult.
Like for Pixar, it would be easy for them to do it. I think for them, they could have like, for example, they could have made Barley gay. I feel like that would have been really easy because he's gay, but none of that would have been important to the story.
So it's like, you know what I mean? Yeah.
So they can't, like, people can't get mad, or as mad. Yeah. Like, it's like, well, there's a part, but like it's a main character who is gay.
Maybe they could have even like implied that he was gay. They wouldn't have to like show him.
Exactly. And that I would have been like, I would have given like credit because I'm like, okay, that's not what Pixar is about. They're not about romance, like ever. Even their first princess movie has zero romance in it. So like they're really not about
if they wanted to do something like that, but like I said, they're not going to do anything more than that right now. So I wish they would have just not done anything at all.
I knew it was coming, so I legit thought the mom was going to be with a mom, and I was like, bro, that
would be wild.
That would be actually insane. I'd be like, wow, okay, put some respect, because that's crazy. Because she was with a man, and
I mean, she could have easily been like bisexual or something. I don't know, but yeah. That's what I'm saying. That
they would have had to like kind of explain that, which would have been, because for kids they'd be like, huh? Yeah. And, so you'd have to.
That's what I'm saying. I wish they would have just not done it. The same kind of thing happened with the live action Beauty and the Beast, where they were like, oh, LeFou is good. Like, just stop. It's enough.
But to be fair, again, we are not, or at least I can speak for myself, I'm not a part of the, like, the representation of LGBTQ plus persons doesn't affect me. Like I can't speak for them because I'm not necessarily part of that. So I guess I don't want to say, oh, I wish they had done it at all. I wish they had done a better job. If it did, like if someone else did feel good about it, I'm happy that you felt good about that. And I feel like I don't want to encourage no. Exactly. I don't want to try to encourage none. Because none is worse, but I still want to hold them accountable.
Yeah, I want to I don't want it to be like kind of dumbed down into this like, oh well, we can just give them this and you can shut up now kind of thing. Yeah. I feel like that's where it came from a little bit. It's tokenism, kind of queer baiting a little bit, because I'm sure a lot of people went to watch the movie thinking like, oh well, maybe this time there's gonna be like, or a lot, not like I doubt people actually went to watch the movie specifically for that reason, but the fact that generated buzz, and the fact that some people were probably expecting it to,
or
be
excited
in there,
for it,
or maybe excited for, because I'm assuming people were super excited that, oh, okay, there's this gay character, whatever, but I was really disappointed that I literally, when that line happened, I was like, that's it, really, again, like seriously. I was like, okay, like, she could have not said that one word and nothing would have changed, like, kind of thing. But the scene was exactly the same. It didn't ruin the movie for me, anything like that. But
did you have anything else to say that you didn't like? I don't know if you finished it.
I don't think so, but yeah, that's pretty much, I think I touched on everything.
Okay so then I guess we do our question first before we go into...
Actually, I have something to say, maybe like that we don't cut out. It's not really a question, but also I kind of annoyed because maybe Pixar isn't doing this intentionally, but everyone kind of knows that like Pixar movies are based around the general idea of what if blank had feelings type of thing.
Yeah.
You know, where everyone talks about like, what if fish had feelings? What if, rats had feelings? What if feelings had feelings type of thing?
Yeah.
And they didn't do that with Onward, and I was kind of
think they were
annoyed.
trying
like,
to say, what if
elves have feelings?
No pants.
What if pants have feelings? Maybe.
Yeah.
But I was like, it just didn't feel like Pixar to me.
Oh, this is a good question. I think I have a good question, actually.
Okay.
Do you feel, I mean, I don't know if you've watched it. Have you watched the trailer for Soul? No? Okay.
What is Soul? Is it upcoming?
It's a new upcoming Pixar movie.
No, I haven't.
I wish you had seen it because.
Oh, is it that one with the dude who turns into a
soul?
something?
Like he dies, like he was like a musician, and then his soul goes to he dies by accident or something. And
I heard about it because people on Twitter were saying, why did they keep making like black characters but making them like not human the whole movie or something like that?
Okay, yes, that's literally it. Okay, so my question is, you've heard of Soul in general, the movie that is coming, the new Pixar. Yeah, exactly. So do you think Pixar is, this is premature, but do you think Pixar is losing their touch a little bit when it comes to OGs? Because Toy Story 4 doesn't really count because it was a sequel, a great one. Yeah, we know that. But do you think they're losing their way a little bit? Do you think they're like running out of ideas?
Maybe a little bit. I think
it?
Maybe a little bit. They're kind of going into a drought period a little bit because I'm trying to remember what are some recent Pixar movies.
So, I mean, let me look it up specifically, so I do not
While you're
miss
doing
it.
that, I can get into it, what I'm saying. But yeah, I think maybe they're going into a slight drought period that Disney kind of went through in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Maybe where I think Onward is going to be like the start of it. Because, it sucks that the whole thing with the virus happened and it didn't get its theater run. But I think that's going to be the catalyzer, and the next couple of Pixar movies, unless there's something super special about them, I think they're going to fly under the radar a little bit.
Actually, so yeah, if I look here, I kind of, this is going to be a hot take, okay? Sorry to interrupt you. Sorry.
No worries.
I have the movies here. So I honestly think ever since 2011, they've kind of been on a downward spiral. Because let me show you. Okay, so Toy Story is the first one, obviously. Bugs Life, Toy Story 2.
What, 3? Oh,
no,
2.
First one, Toy Story. I'm going in complete order from the beginning.
They
don't even have that many movies, so it's.
I have the list in front of me now.
Too, so Toy Story, Bugs Life, Toy Story 2, Monsters Inc., Finding Nemo, Incredibles, Cars, Ratatouille, WALL-E, Up, Toy Story 3. So to me, I think all of those, not all of them, but literally like let's say 90% of those movies were successful from 1995
they were like iconic,
to 2010. They had some pretty iconic movies. Like the one that did the worst
they
was
took
probably
advantage.
Bugs Life. That's it.
Yeah, Pixar took advantage of Disney being in the drought, because that was around the time where Disney was in a drought.
You were right. Yeah.
So Pixar kind of had its time to shine, but then once I think Disney picked up a bit after maybe like Wreck-It Ralph, that kind of
so Tangled was released in 2010, which is when Toy Story 3 was released, and that's when
it kind of switched off.
Actually, let me even say Princess and the Frog released in 2009, I think. And when Up was released, but that was the start of them going back to 2D animation and kind of trying to go back to their roots, because they had been trying to follow Pixar this whole time and like failing, really badly. Like Chicken Little, Meet the Robinsons, all those movies, right? So they kind of went back. Exactly.
I don't know. Is Barnyard Disney?
I have no idea, but
I don't know.
They were just not doing well. So I think they kind of went back to like, okay, let's do what we do best, aka a princess movie. They hadn't done that in years, which is like, why wouldn't you do that? Like, that's your best asset, to be honest. Anyways. Right when
Disney did like Moana and Frozen.
Exactly. Like, so when they started
back in the game.
They were back in the game. And I kind of feel like, isn't that when Disney purchased Pixar?
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. I think so. I think we found the connection.
Disney bought Pixar in 2006. So that's not,
and they probably had, but think about it like this though. They bought it in 2006, but they probably had movies like WALL-E, Ratatouille, Up in the works already.
You're right, and Up,
because those took especially in early 2000s, those took a lot of time to do. So they probably already had those started.
Yeah.
So probably any new movies they started around that time were probably
first of all
impacted.
Toy
by
Story
that.
3 was amazing, but you can totally tell Disney pushed that one because
Pixar
is not a big sequels thing necessarily. Actually.
Exactly.
And it was
it's funny how once they bought it, that's when they started with the
doing
sequels pretty much.
So then Cars 2, I did not.
Cars 2 flopped.
Nope. Brave was not that good either.
Brave, people don't really talk about it much.
I know.
Yeah.
It's just forgettable.
I've only seen a little bit of it.
Yeah, it's not.
Monsters University.
It actually did okay, actually. Some people
liked it. Did okay, but I feel like
great.
There's not as much conversation around it. Inside Out, I feel like was the outlier a little bit.
It did amazing, but then Good Dinosaur, man. Finding Dory, I think, is 50-50. It did well box office wise, but I didn't really love it as a movie.
Because everyone was excited for the sequel, but I didn't really like the movie.
Exactly. I didn't like it actually at all.
Cars 3, unnecessary movie.
Coco did really well.
Coco also, I feel like, was another outlier, but I still feel like, even though it's an amazing movie, don't get me wrong, it's fantastic. One of Pixar's best, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But it still didn't get as much
a notoriety. I get what you're saying.
Buzz exactly. I feel like in a couple years, people, when you think of like classic Pixar movies, you might not think of Coco.
I kind of wish
kind of movie
Coco,
like, oh yeah, Coco was really good. Like I wish it became like that, but it just
I wish Coco was Disney though. I kind of feel that.
Yeah, I think that's what I was saying. I think Disney would have been. I think it would have been better as a Disney movie than Pixar.
Yeah.
Incredibles 2 was a good movie, but again, I feel like that's that movie that kind of people.
Actually, honestly, I think it was a little late. That's it. I feel like
it was definitely overdue.
Before. That's it.
Yeah, it was definitely way overdue. Mm-hmm. Toy Story 4 was really good, but again, sequels like it's kind of I think I agree with you. Like Pixar did kind of start.
It's just we haven't been noticing it.
It was on a slow decline, but I think Onward is what is gonna set it off, and we're gonna go through a couple of
a drought.
Yeah. I think so.
That's insane. That's crazy to me because I'm like. I thought they were on top of their game, like no one could touch them, but it kind of seems like Disney is taking the reins. I mean, they just messed up, according to me, with Frozen 2, but but you can't lie that some people did really like it. No, some people really liked it, and it did amazing box office. Like for them,
so,
dollar sign wise, it's the biggest success because it's the highest grossing one at this point. So
exactly,
Disney's just doing better. Onward also got effed up by the circumstances, if you will, but
that's what I'm saying. I feel like the mix of Onward not being that special, mixed with the fact that it couldn't get its theater run, I think is gonna hurt them in the long run.
Honestly, I would never wish this upon any movie, but I think if Inside Out was released at this time, I still think it would have done amazing. I think it would have been. That's what I'm saying.
If it was something super special, everyone would have been talking about it. Yeah, everyone would have been talking about it, whatever. But like. That's what I'm saying. The combination of those two factors together.
That's so true because we're doing nothing all day. You should expect Onward to be like a trend on Twitter or something like that. But anyway, Soul. I don't want to judge anything, but it doesn't seem too promising from what I'm from.
Yeah, I mean we were just talking about it a minute ago, but I did only hear about Soul because people on Twitter are talking about how it's kind of why is it a thing now where whenever they have a black character. He's not a human, or they're not human for most of the time.
Yeah, she's referring to Princess and the Frog.
Princess and the Frog. What's the other one? Is there another one?
I don't think so. There's Hercules, but they're like goddesses, so that works. I think that's fine.
Yeah, but it's just like it's kind of that thing where it's like
though they're like the first
that kind of makes sense
had
too.
To be an animal instead of like a person.
Yeah,
yeah,
and it's kind of weird how it's like again, like why, like. Okay, you do it once, but a second time again, where it's kind of like,
I know. But I don't want to knock it, obviously, till we try.
No. I'm definitely probably gonna check it out. I don't know when it comes out, but
it says November 20th, 2020. I think we should be out of here for sure. I'm sure they're even gonna push it.
Oh yeah.
Because if they find out like, oh, we're set to be out in whatever, I'm sure they'll push it to then. But I don't know. I feel like. I don't know. Pixar just doesn't seem to be
it's losing its mojo
game.
A little bit.
Yeah,
I don't know what they have in the works right now, but it also doesn't help that other studios are picking it up too, like Into the Spider-Verse, that kind of thing.
Oh yes,
people are kind of looking outside of Pixar. I do. That's what I'm saying. I like how at least Pixar is not like my biggest fear is that Disney Pixar is like truly like monopoly, like no one.
Yes,
like
exactly. I do want competition.
The thing for, you know, it's good to have some competition. It keeps them, well, that's basically what a monopoly is. Not having a monopoly keeps them improving and keeps them wanting to do better movies.
I totally agree
if
with
they're
you.
If they're the only ones pumping out animated movies, they're all going to be crap because they're like, well, nobody really is checking us. But when you have Sony coming out with like one of the best animated movies of like the 2010s, then you got to step up your game.
Exactly. So. I totally agree with you because you know how I feel. If Disney was the monopoly, we would continue to get movies like Frozen 2 over and over again because they would be like, it makes money. They would literally just make Frozen movies. Like, why not? Because
why not?
You make the most money.
I feel like maybe Into the Spider-Verse kind of shook them a little bit.
Yes.
And said, oh, we need to step it up because of how good that one was. So hopefully they're starting to work on some new things, and we'll see some good movies.
And also, like, even this is a little bit of a stretch, but like Parasite winning the Oscar kind of shows that foreign movies are, you know, in it. In animation, they've always kind of shown foreign movies. They were one of the first categories to kind of do it because animation is easily translatable in like other languages. But I think that'll make them be like, okay, we're not just competing against, you know, American companies or whatever.
Yeah, I'm interested to see some more foreign animated movies in the future. So.
Yeah, for sure. I think so too. Yeah. And also Netflix literally did an animated movie. I Lost My Body is a Netflix movie. So they just have more competition. And you know Netflix
That's what I'm saying. I'm glad that more people
pools. Yeah,
I'm glad that like, you know, more non-Disney animation movies are getting
made
recognition. A, because obviously they're really great movies and they deserve it, but B, it keeps kind of Disney on their toes and doesn't let them get complacent. Thinking like, well, we're Disney, we can do whatever we want. People are gonna like it. Like I hope they learn from Onward a little bit and be like, okay, no, you need to start playing. You need to step it up a little bit.
Yeah, and I don't know. I just feel this is so weird for me to say, but I just felt like they made it too sad for no reason. Is that weird? It's like a little bit. I just felt like it was a little like I feel like from Inside Out we learned that you don't need to always be sad. Like Inside Out isn't a sad movie per se. Like, yeah, I know Bing Bong.
It's sad. Like the whole point of Pixar movies is it's not supposed to be like explicitly sad, but it's supposed to make you feel
tap into something. Emotions, right? And I felt like
that one
was
supposed
just
to tap
sad.
into, not just supposed to be okay, he died. It's sad. That's kind of like super like one-dimensional of them.
Exactly.
In my opinion. To be like, okay, the sad part of this movie is that this dad died. Like,
it's even more like, I know you critique Up for being really depressing, but I felt like this one was even more so because there was not that much resolution. Because with Up, at least he bonds with the little kid, you know? So there's like...
I mean, I find Up depressing for like my own personal reasons. Like, it's not like...
It is depressing, but I don't think...
But like, I find it depressing to the point of being unlikable for my personal reasons.
Yeah. I feel like this one, though, was just like objectively like... Bruh, like... It was a downer. Like, I was just like, oh. Like, like I didn't... It was so sad that... Especially because we were following the main character. So it's like our main character doesn't get a happy ending and we just watch someone else have his happy ending. I don't know. It was just didn't sit right with me. I don't know. I guess
I didn't really get what the lesson was other than like you should appreciate your sibling. I don't know.
I know. I feel like also, again, they didn't set him up enough. Like I felt like I needed to see the brother sacrifice more for his little brother for me to be like, oh yeah, like it's about time that, you know, so-and-so steps up. I don't know. Well, yeah, we could go on.
Anyways, okay. So we can get into the grading.
Yes. So...
I think I know what my grade is. But
I think I know, too. I think after talking about it, I lowered it a little bit, which is... I
think I'm pretty solid about mine. Yeah. I kind of knew what it was.
I was originally going to give it a B, but I think I'm going to give it a B minus. And
interesting.
For me, it's because... Listen, like if I'm comparing, I gave Frozen 2 a C+, right?
Yeah.
I always give money, quote unquote, for effort. And they did, I don't think they didn't do effort. I don't feel like it was lazy. So that's why I'm not giving them a low grade. I just felt like it was a miss. Like it was just a miss, you know?
Yeah.
And that sucks. I'm also being nicer to them because Corona. So B minus is what I'm going to give them.
But I mean, like the writing of the movie and the making of the movie didn't get get impacted by Corona. So
no, it did not.
I can't give him that because
no, you're right.
They've had this movie made for a long time. So.
Yeah, you are. Right.
Yeah, I think I'm okay with giving it a B. Because it wasn't like a bad movie or anything like that. I just think it was meh. Like B is kind of right in the middle. So I was like, it's meh. It's not the best, but I wasn't sitting there being like, oh my god, like, you know what I mean?
No, it's not tragic.
No, it's not trash or anything, but it's definitely not up to par, I think, with Pixar standards.
Not. Yeah, I expect more from them, So.
Yeah, and I was a little disappointed that how similar it was to like a bunch of other movies.
Yeah, now that you pointed that out to me, I was like, bruh, that's a big reason why.
Like, it's so like the city is like so. It reminds me so much of Planet 51. That I was like, what?
And Planet 51 was cuter with it. Like, they made more jokes about it. Like
Planet 51, I feel like started the whole trend of like, oh, it's like
urban fantasy,
Alien but modern kind of thing. Exactly. You know what I mean? Like,
but they were set in the 50s, and I think they really did jokes. They did well with that because they did a lot of nostalgic things, like some of their propaganda videos were like, all you want to do is get a job, go home to your wife, and like, that things that they would have said in the 50s versus like the astronauts coming in and being like, y'all don't know what an iPod is, like, it was kind of funny in that way. I feel like Onward could have made way more jokes, by the way, with the whole like them living in an urban like Zootopia. Zootopia did that really well, like. As in, like, you see little animals doing, like, human things, and you see, like, Shakira as a llama. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
that's
funny. Onward was not
funny.
funny at
now
all.
that I think about it, Onward wasn't really that funny.
No. I
don't really remember laughing.
No, I don't think we... Like, again, we were 5 people watching the movie, and I think there was a... Like,
it's kind of like, it's kind of those, like, where you breathe air out of your nose, kind of like,
exactly,
type of thing.
Like
but
exactly.
Yeah, no.
And even halfway through, my dad was like almost, is this over? It was like, are we done yet? And then,
yeah, but
I don't know. It was
that's about it, I think.
Yeah, that's about it.
So, as usual, subscribe to our podcast. Follow us on Instagram. Flick Chicks Pod. If you enjoyed the episode, share it with your friends and family.
Yeah. You definitely should do that.
I hope you liked it.
Yeah, and we will catch you guys next week with a general episode that we will decide later.
That you will find out about next week.
Yes, exactly.
So, yeah.
All right.
Keep on keeping on.
Exactly.
Bye.